I am Neil Larthos. I am the next Abdullah. You are the next Neville Goddard. Your SP gets wet every single time they think of you. And your bank account makes Jeff Bezos look homeless. Okay? What the movies you watch tell you about your SP. Okay? So the other day I was watching Avatar. Okay? And just like any movie I watch, I always look to see which character is like me. Well, actually, I don't try to. I naturally see which character is me, right? There's almost like there's a voice that will just tell me, oh, look, that's you, right? And I'm sure some of you guys experience this as well whenever you're watching a movie. But when I was watching it, I kept seeing myself as Spider, okay? Now, if you guys don't watch the Avatar movies, which, by the way, the fucking Doomsday trailers are popping up in these movies. Guys, I cannot fucking wait for Avengers Doomsday. But either ways, if you haven't seen the Avatar movies, there is a character by the name of Spider. And I haven't seen the second Avatar, but apparently he's kind of like a younger, up-and-coming guy of the crew. You know, he's not as superior as Jake. He's not as superior as some of the, you know, upper-level fucking blue Smurfs. But he has potential, right? Now, later on, you find out some, you know... Well, we don't want to spoil it, but basically, he's like mid-level Smurf, okay? And on top of that, he's basically human, right? So he had to wear a mask just so that way he can breathe the air in the Avatar world in Pandora, right? So automatically, when I saw that my subconscious was telling me, hey, that's you, because I know I'm God, and because I know that I'm not the mind and the body, I was able to separate myself and look into this and say, okay, well, hold on. Why is my subconscious telling me this, right? Because in the past, I used to think like, okay, whatever my subconscious tells me, that's the truth, right? But I was able to look back and realize, okay, so my subconscious is not telling me this because I am wearing a mask and I'm a human living amongst Avatar Smurfs. No. My subconscious was telling me this because it was trying to let me know that recently my self-concept has been wavering, right? Because usually I'm Jake. I'm the main motherfucker. Or I'm even the fucking, you know, what's his name? The colonel, right? The badass, right? I'm usually one of those motherfuckers, right? I'm the main character. I'm the head honcho, right? I'm the one that they call Tiku Tiki or whatever the fuck his name was, right? Which, by the way, Jake is my middle name, so it was very interesting that the main character was named that. And my girlfriend, when we were watching it together, her name is very fucking similar. Her middle name, excuse me, is very fucking similar to Zoe Saldana's character, right? But anyways, when we saw that, we were like, what the actual fuck, dude? You see, even we manifested... They manifested a movie with us together in it. Okay, it's destiny, guys. But... going back on topic, right? When I saw that my subconscious was telling me that I do not see myself as the main guy, I see myself as the mid-level guy trying to work himself up, climb the corporate ladder, I started going in my awareness. And for the first fucking half hour, I was trying to see what the fuck is up with my self-concept. And I started telling me affirmations, and I started telling myself, like, no matter what the subconscious tells me, I'm that motherfucker. I am the one who everybody worships. And I started saying shit like that, right? But I remember even with my ex, we were watching this, you know, fucking telenovela on Netflix, right? Because she used to watch a lot of those, you know, Spanish shows. And I remember we were watching an episode where this very attractive woman was dating this guy who was very neurotic and very like, okay, baby, yeah, whatever you say. You know, basically like the typical beta male, right? But yet there was this other guy who was just very, you know, calm and stoic and just very chill and alpha. And I remember before she even opened her mouth, we were just watching the fucking show, and I remember saying to myself, you know, I bet she sees me as the alpha. You know, that I'm her man. You know, she always, you know, she knows that I'm her protector, right? Well, tell me why right whenever she paused it, she tells me, you remind me of him. And I look at the fucking screen, and it's the fucking beta male guy who is wearing a fucking plaid t-shirt with, you know, dirty ass sneakers, right? And looks like he hasn't eaten in fucking days. And she compares me to this guy, right? And when I was later on, I you know, was able to realize why people were seeing me this way, because she wasn't the only one. I would also see other movies, or I would talk to some of my friends, and they would say that they saw movies, and they're like, you remind me so much of this one character. And I would look it up, and I couldn't wait to go home to look it up. And I would see that it's just fucking weirdo loser who's just a goofball who's always playing around, but no one takes seriously, right? And I started realizing that this was the fucking, you know, this is why I say that you should care what people think, because they think what you think. And I used to say, like, wow, I mean, people are so judgmental. You know, why do I have to change for them? Well, it's not so much that I needed to impress them and be the alpha because I wanted everybody to see me as the alpha, but the truth is I actually really didn't see myself as the alpha, right? Because a true alpha had a self-concept where you're not just going to act confident in front of specific people, but then shiver and crumble in your shell with others. No, you're gonna not give a fuck. Regardless, you are going to see yourself as the alpha regardless. I mean, I used to be a guy who was afraid to fucking eat my lunch in front of people because I was afraid that if they saw the way that I would just go ham on the turkey leg, that they would be like, oh my gosh, that guy's such a pig, right? And a lot of it came from my childhood because my dad used to judge me for fucking everything, right? And it took a lot of self-concept work to get out of that. But when I started telling myself that everywhere I go, they lay the red carpet for me, and all my SPs are satellites in my solar system, but I'm fucking gravity, and that all my SPs have a life-size poster on their wall that they pray and bow down to every single night, and that this fucking hot chick that never fucking looks at me actually always looks at me all the time and has to carry 5 pairs of panties to work every day because she can't stop masturbating to me. When I started talking about myself like this, I got results within days. My mindset about myself started to shift, and I started to not give a fuck whether I was in front of the 7-foot firefighter who was trying to mog me in public, or whether I was in front of the hot girl that all the guys were drooling over. I didn't care. And I became magnetic, and I became irresistible, and I became that motherfucker who was making people, 10 times my size shiver and intimidated. And I could see it. I can see it in their face, right? Now, recently, when I was watching Avatar, and by the way, when this video comes out, you're going to be like, what the fuck? Why are you still watching Avatar? No, today's actually Christmas Eve, okay? I'm actually wearing my Santa uniform, but you guys just can't fucking see that. But no, I just gave you a jump scare. But I make my videos, way fucking in the, just like the manifestations are a reflection of your past assumptions, this is a reflection of my past assumption, bitch. Boom. But either ways, I had some fucked up things happen at work, if I'm being honest with you, because I'm still in the food industry business, and I love being a manager, right? Especially because I get all the hoes. But either ways, there was things that happened at work, and it really fucked with my self-concept, and it took me a couple of days to really get back in, if I'm being honest with you, right? And it was no surprise that I was noticing my self-concept to be aligned with this mid-level character in the movie. And I know you're probably thinking, well, Spider's cool. Like, what's wrong with you watching, the Avengers and them comparing you to Ant-Man? And that's another one. When I would watch the Avengers Endgame movie, especially because it came around the time where my self-concept was very low, I always would see myself as Ant-Man. I mean, fucking Rocky Raccoon was even making fun of him and petting him. And he's like he's like the size of a fucking child, right? He's the size of a baby, yet he's talking to a grown man and talking to him like if he's his bitch, right? And I could never see myself as Captain America whenever I was watching Avengers, right? But after all this tangent about movies, right? If you want to know what state you are in at any given moment, just watch your favorite movie and see who it is that your subconscious feels like you resonate the most with. A lot of us say, oh, I like this character so much because I feel I can relate to him. Well, I'm sorry to break it to you, but if you relate to the one that has shitty luck and everybody's making fun of him and doesn't take him seriously, that's actually the state that you're in, right? I guarantee you 100% of the time, whatever character that you like, it's not that you like them, it's that your subconscious is almost saying, Dad, right? And I know that sounds crazy, and I'm not telling you not to like the shitty characters, but let's be real here. We're always going to be more drawn to those that we feel like we're most like, okay? So what can you do in order to get out of that state? Well, by the time Avatar was over, and I watched that movie like 2 days ago, my self-concept went back to fucking normal. And really all I did was I started using the worst case scenario technique, which is where I tell myself, wherever I'm at, whether I'm at the movie theater with my girlfriend, whether I'm at work, whether I'm out in public, I ask myself, what is the worst that can fucking happen? And a lot of times when I ask myself that question, the major anxieties that are bugging me at that time, for whatever state I'm in, if I'm in the state of lack, if I'm in the state of right now I'm having a shitty time at work and they are displeased with my work performance, I'm in the state of the guy who sucks at work and who's a loser, right? Well, if I ask myself what is the worst case scenario while I'm out, when I'm at work, the worst case scenario would be getting fired and then coming home and my girlfriend looks at me like a loser because now I don't have money to pay the rent, right? Or my family, who I still help with rent, will look at me as a loser, and now they'll see me as a bad provider, right? Well, whenever I go to the worst case scenario, but then I revise it and say, even if that was to happen, I know that I am perfect and I am financially abundant, and even if I was to lose my job, I have more than enough money to live off sitting on my ass eating a bag of Cheetos. That is where I walk with this confidence, and I can hold my fucking head in the air, my balls hanging out, and I fucking feel bulletproof. I feel invincible. Because let me tell you something, whenever you imagine the worst case scenario, first of all, it can be dangerous because, yeah, you could actually manifest the worst case scenario if you're constantly thinking about the negative. But when you do it in a way where you go to that parallel reality, where you see yourself getting fired, or you see your SP rejecting you and getting married with your fucking best friend, right? Worst case scenario. When you are able to come out of that and tell yourself, even if that was to happen, I know I'm going to be okay. And then you could even give yourself an imaginal act of, your life coming out of that and getting somebody better, getting an SP that's 10 times hotter than the one that had cheated on you with your best friend, or getting you a job where you don't even have to work in the food industry, right? For me, I could, imagine me getting fired, but then 2 weeks later getting a big fucking promotion deal as an entrepreneur, right? Or me getting, you don't get fucking promotion deals, what the fuck? Or me just going full-time on YouTube and making 20 fucking K. I could just imagine my bank account, say, going from negative 800 to 20 fucking K in one day. And then I'm having a conversation with my friend saying, oh my fucking gosh, I just made the amount of a month's rent last week in a span of 7 days. And then I go back and keep running that in my fucking imaginal act. I'm on the phone with my friend. I just made a whole year's worth of rent in 7 days. I just made a whole year's worth of rent in 7 days. And then you fucking slow-mo that shit. I just made a whole year's worth of rent in 7 days. Right away when I think of that, I can imagine myself just sitting in my car right now thinking about how fucking lazy I can be for the next 5 months, because I don't even have to work, because I just have my whole rent paid for. I'm going to start thinking of like places I can travel, just all the fucking dates that I'm going to go on with my girl, because the money's going to keep on flowing, and I go from the worst case scenario, getting fired, right, to knowing that I can still have something better, right? Because the thing is you have to start believing in the impossible. First of all, it's not very impossible for me to get fired and then to go full-time on YouTube. We've heard so many people who just up and left their job, or fucking left from Texas and moved to Los Angeles to become a movie star when they only had $7 in their pocket. We've heard all those fucking stories, right? And why were they able to do it? Because they knew that they had no choice, that it was either they get that acting gig or their life is over, right? And sometimes that kinetic energy that they have of like, what else is there to lose, they detach. And remember, detaching is the same thing as having, because when you don't care anymore and you are okay with just believing in yourself, which believing in yourself is another way of saying that you already saw it in your imaginal act and you gave it to yourself, then you already have it. And when you have it up here, it has no other choice but to be given out here. Okay? So if you are watching a movie and you notice that your subconscious is resonating with the character that nobody likes, or that nobody takes seriously, or the one that is left out, and the one that they probably didn't even pay the actor enough money, and maybe he is going on a fucking actor's strike with the producers. If you resonate with that character, just realize, okay, be thankful, because you didn't have to go through a fucking $1,000 consultation call to figure out your state. You realize, okay, all right, I see myself as the loser. So then whenever you feel like shit throughout your day, or maybe someone makes fun of you, or you notice that your phone hasn't been texted by any one of your SPs in God knows how long, and you feel lonely because everybody else is going out on dates but not you on Saturday nights, that is when I want you to tell you the most obnoxious narcissistic things, like, every girl in this fucking neighborhood cannot stop talking about how big my dick is. Or if you're a girl, say, all the men get so fucking rock hard for me. I mean, whenever they're standing in a line, it just fucking looks like a whole bunch of Pinocchios, in a fucking army whenever they're staring at me, right? Tell everybody, tell yourself that everybody is fucking obsessed with you. They all need you more than food, water, and fucking air. Tell yourself that your SPs are flowers in your garden, but you're the fucking sun. All right? You start talking to yourself like this. And to be honest, what's crazy about when you say shit like that, especially when you say it in the moment where you're feeling like shit, if you notice that you are feeling like shit and then you are able to fucking make yourself laugh when you say these things, you just impress your subconscious and you might not even have to do them again until you feel like shit and until you go back to noticing on Saturdays that you feel like a lonely loser. And then just continue doing these self-affirmations. But honest to God, when I do these, I can go days without even feeling anything. And remember, you're not even your feelings. So even when you do feel like shit, if you just keep telling yourself, yeah, I notice that my body is giving me the same sensation and pit in my stomach that I feel or that I felt when I got broken up with my first girlfriend in middle school. Yeah, I know the feeling in the lump in my throat when I feel like I want to cry, but that's just a feeling in my body. I'm not the body. I'm not the mind. I'm the observer. And when I notice that it's just a sensation, and in my 4D, I'm actually telling myself that I'm the man, and no, all my SPs carry 5 pairs of panties because they are obsessed with me and they can't stop masturbating to me. I know that that's the real reality and not this one where I'm feeling like shit on every Saturday when I feel lonely as fuck. Okay? So that is a good way to check out your state and to really almost open the hood and see what you need to work on, right? And if you want more help on working on self-concept, you can email me at neothegod, or just go on my YouTube channel and there's the email right there. And I'm doing free consultations up until February. And then you motherfuckers are going to have to start rewarding the king, okay? So until then, folks, I am Nia Lartos. This is all that the I Am Awareness had to say. And I know you're going to be okay.